Alright, I'm going to show you now how to create a newsletter. So proceed down to your newsletter in the communications area of your system. That's here. And what we're going to do is actually add a newsletter at the top. We're going to select a template. In this case, we're going to call it the Bartow Update. And we'll call this, let's just call this first quarter news. And while you're creating the newsletter, since it will auto post to your website, we recommend that you have the status and change the status to inactive. I'm going to go ahead and click continue, but before I do that, I also want to bring attention to the fact that this is a published date that you put in, obviously, but it has no bearing on when the newsletter goes out. That is actually determined by you changing this to active and actually activating the send to all of your members. Alright, so now in creating the newsletter, we'll continue. And you can see it brings in the template, in this case, the Greater Bartow Chamber. And I just did a screenshot of the top of their website. You can see I got a little menuing in here, but obviously this would be thought out and you would have a much nicer graphic for your newsletter. Graphic looks nice, just you wouldn't have the buttons there. We're going to go ahead and add a feature, and in the top left corner of the newsletter we're going to want to put in an index, and this will keep track of everything that we add. We're going to go ahead and call this, and let's just call it newsletter index. And you have an option to put additional information in here, but you'll probably find that's good enough for the index. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. So you can see here on the left we have newsletter index. On the right, let's put in a news article. So let's just do an article. Choose the feature. We're going to call this weekly update, and we'll call this, the author would be the CC Chamber of Commerce editor, for instance. And let's just go get some Lipsum text. I love Lipsum text. We'll just go ahead and grab paragraph in here. Copy that. Go back to our newsletter editor. Now, this is an important thing for you to understand. One of the things that happens in a system like this is that if you paste from Microsoft Word, for instance, you might find some problems with the way the text lays out. So if you're copying from a website, typically it's fine because this is also a website. But you want to make sure that in cases where you're submitting from Microsoft Word, you're going to want to go in and click on paste as plain text, and when you do that it'll bring up a box. You can paste it in and you click OK, and it will actually paste it in and clear out all the formatting. So I'm going to show you that again. We're going to erase all of this information. If you're trying to paste something from a Microsoft document or a publisher document, you're going to want it, before you paste it in here, you're going to want to click this little box here, paste as plain text. You're going to want to put your cursor in, hit your control key and the V key, and that'll paste it in, control V. You go ahead and click OK, and now what it's done is cleared out all the formatting, and it's text that will work just fine. Now, in this particular editor, we're going to go ahead and click continue, and this is like, let's say this is our teaser paragraph for the story. And if you notice down here, you can add additional story content. So if you don't want your newsletter to be really long, then you're going to want to use this concept. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to paste this one in and paste this one in. And you can see, since I didn't use the plain text, it's keeping the bold in there. If this is coming from Microsoft Word, I wouldn't even do this. I would always use plain text. Okay, so now we have our article in. Now let's say that we want to put in an ad. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put in an image, and I'm using the same article text image selection. I'm going to click choose feature, and I'll call this the sponsor A. Let's just call it sponsor A, and it's the CC. We'll just leave that blank. And we're going to come in here, and what we can do is we can add an image by clicking on this little image icon over here on the right hand side. And this is a Linux backend, so it works a little differently than Microsoft. So what you want to do, I know most of you will think browse server and bring in the image. That won't work, and it'll just frustrate you. So keep in mind, throughout the whole system, it's a little bit different this way. You click on upload, you choose a file. So I'm just going to go to the desktop because I have a few images in here I set up for this training class. And we're going to go ahead and just choose this particular image. We're going to send it to server. Okay, and you'll notice now it's automatically resized that image to fit in that column. But you can make it longer. You can change the ratio if you want to. So you have settings in here. You can actually left and right it and so forth. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And now what we have is we have the image, but I forgot to put it on a link, because when people click it, you might want them to go somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little chain link up here, and I'm going to go ahead and type in, let's just say Chamber Nation. Okay, and the target, what we want to do is we don't want to take them away from the newsletter, so we're going to open it in a brand new window blank. That's the one I typically use. And so now it'll open in a new window, and they'll be able to easily close that window and come back to your newsletter. So we're going to click continue, and now what we've done is we put a sponsor on the left side right there. If we click that, you will see that it will open up a new window and take you to Chamber Nation. And if I close it, it takes me right back to the newsletter. I actually clicked on it, so it opened it up, and it also opened it up for editing. So there we go. So we have our sponsor in there. As you can see, we have our newsletter index working away here. Now what we want to do is we want to add an events. Now, I don't know that we have too many events in here, but we're going to go ahead and choose this feature. So if you notice, I clicked on calendar of events import, choose feature, and I'm just going to go back to 2011, and I can put in an end date if I want to, and I'll just go ahead and put in the 31st, and I can have event name, start date, and description. I can also select the calendar types, because since you have a syndicated calendar system, which means that you can give calendar automation away to other organizations in your community, you could have a very long list like museum or arts group or whatever it might be, Lions Club International, and you could selectively put those events into your newsletter. But we're just going to say all, and if you want to add the location and add the time to event details, and you might want to call this event update. Now hopefully we have some events in here. We're going to click continue, and what it's done is it's taken in all of the events from all the way back to 2011 that's in this demonstration system. But you can see what it does is it brings in all of your calendar items automatically. And you can see here it's all about training in this particular case. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to welcome our newest members. So let's go add a feature and let's do a member database import. And we're going to go ahead and choose this feature. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tell the system what do we want. Well, let's say that we want all the new members from, let's go 9, let's just do 0, 7, 24, 2013, and we'll end it at 131, 2014. That's fine. And we want new members, but you can see you can choose renewing members also, all member types, and we can type in welcome our newest members. There we go. And we can click continue. And this is really neat. You're going to see now what it did is it just brought in all of your newest members. And there's a good example. And you can see here what's happening is it's creating our index. And let's say, for instance, we want the event update or we want the weekly update to go down. You can just click on these little arrows to move it down, move it up, move it left, move it right. A lot of flexibility. So you can see in a very short amount of time, we were able to create a rather nice newsletter. And when you're done, you go ahead and click continue and publish. That only means it's saving. It's just a fancy way for the newsletter to say it's being saved. And then right here, you can click when you're sure you're ready to go. You want to make sure that you activate the newsletter first. So we're going to go back up here. And you can see this is the Bartow update. We're going to go to the pencil. We're going to make sure that we make it active. And then we click continue. Good idea just to check it over again, make sure everything's there that you want to be there. And then you can go ahead, go back to the top, continue and publish. And then this time around, since you've activated the newsletter, then you can go ahead and email the newsletter to your members. And you have selections, like for instance, you can send it out to, well, let me just go ahead and click this for you, and you can see you put in your sender name, that's your name, your reply email, your subject. So let me go ahead and do this. We'll just call this the weekly update. I think you understand what we're doing here. Click continue. And now what we can do is you can say that you want it to go to all full member plans, active members, also include cross-reference, and you would choose this, and it would bring all of the members over on the right on this side. You can also instead pick and choose, like holding your control key down. You can decide which individuals you'd like to receive the newsletter, or by project or committee or by join date. And there's some other options there too. And then you just click continue and it will go out.